How you doing, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for the guys that have stuck around. We're going to be creating a little bit more just normal NRL content here. We're going to be going through the current ladder where it sits with 3 games to go and have a little chat about what I think or where I think everyone's going to shake out and sort of what matchups I'd probably prefer if I was a certain team and go from there. But we'll kick it off with obviously the Panthers. They're up top, most likely going to receive the minor premiership, which is completely fair after that loss to the Cowboys. Makes them, it's a little bit more tough for them to get to that number 1 spot with the differential being 90 now and still 3 wins away. So let's just say Panthers get number 1 spot. The question then is, who is going to play them in round 1? They are missing Luai potentially for that first round clash. He could be back at that time if they hurry him back a little bit, but there was some talk that it was an 8-week injury, and Cleary will definitely be back for round 1. So you have a few other guys that are currently carrying a few things in Fisher Harris and stuff who will be back around that time as well, which makes it very interesting. I personally think it is a 4-team, apart from Panthers, a 4-team race to get in that top 4. So I think that the Broncos are probably going to be a 5th or 6th type of team. I think the Bunnies have an actual chance of making the finals here. Their main issue is that they have Penrith, Cowboys, and then Roosters for the last 3 games. So with them 3 being pretty tough, you'd expect that they would win 2 out of that 3, just with the form that they're currently in. They're 4-1 at the moment. No one's in a crazy form, in crazy form at the moment, apart from the Roosters and the Sharks have been pretty solid as well. So those 3 teams are the ones. I think Sharks like 8 from their last 9, and Bunnies have really turned a corner along with the Roosters. So I would be expecting Roosters to make the top 8, but we'll get to that in a second. So with Bunnies having that run, we've got the Cowboys with Warriors, South, and Penrith. Probably ideal that Penrith are in that last game, I'd say, just with the fact that if they've locked up their minor premiership, there's a good chance that they rest their stars heading into that week 1 clash. I think that would be the way they'd go. But guys like Isaiah Yeo, who are playing big minutes at the moment, I think will get a rest. There's a chance the Cowboys get that opportunity to win that last game. And it might be important for them to make sure they're in that top 4 or they're looking for a certain seeding. If you look at that top 4 as it's currently constructed, do we think the Storm can stay there? Do we think the Bunnies can overtake them? I think that's probably the contentious one. You'd say Cowboys and Sharks should be definitely in the 4. Let's hope anyway. Sharks play Manly, Dogs, and Newcastle. So I actually think personally that Sharks will overtake Cowboys heading into heading into the next 3 rounds. I think that's the way it's going to go. I think it'll be Penrith, then Sharks, and I'm hoping that the Cowboys will probably be 3rd. Who would you rather play? Would you rather play the Sharks or the Panthers in round 1? I personally think I'd rather play the Sharks. I know there's a few people that are saying that they'd rather play the Panthers because they have Cleary's coming back, they'll have Luai coming back, and they're obviously not playing spectacular footy right now. But I still think they're by far the best team. Sharks are in a great spot. They're playing a really, really good footy, but I still think they're not as good as Panthers. Obviously, could beat us on our day, but when we played them last time, it was a much closer game than when the Cowboys played the Panthers earlier on in the year. So I'm going to say it's going to go Panthers, Sharks, Cowboys in 3rd, and that'll be a fun matchup, Cowboys v Sharks in round 1. And then I think there's a good chance that the Bunnies overtake the Storm. The main issue here is that they're on the same points and the Storm have a much better differential. So it could come down to that the Storm there have Broncos, Roosters, Power. So they have a pretty tough run as well. Both, I'd say, are very similar runs, the Penrith, Cowboys and Roosters for the Bunnies, and then the Storm. So either way, I think they're really going to both be fighting it out. And if you own players, for example, in NRL Fantasy on these 2 teams, I think that they're going to be playing really good and big minutes for the next 3 games to make sure they try and sneak into that top 4. If you're looking at the Broncos, then I just think it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for them to get in. They are on the same points along with the Eels as the Bunnies, but that differential, I'm pretty sure a few of these teams will end up on the same points. So let's just say at the moment the Storm are ahead. They're in the lead on that one. Let's say if they can win 2 of the last 3, the Bunnies would have to win all 3 by a big margin. Okay, and it's pretty solid to expect the Storm will get that. So let's just say Storm make 4th. Storm v Panthers. I think Panthers win that first one. The Storm without Pat, they'll have Hughes back for a game or 2 before then. I just think they have a little bit too much for the Storm at the moment, just not playing their best. Obviously, if they can defend like they did the other day, that would be helpful, but I still think that they'll beat them and get the week off. So it'll be a very interesting one as to if Cowboys and Sharks win as to who's going to play the Storm. And Yeah, I think that Cowboys Sharks one can go either way. Both teams are strong. I think that's hard being a little bit biased. I think Sharks will be slightly have the better outfit. Cowboys have a bit more talent across the board. I think someone like Ruben Cotter is going to be super important for them through the middle in this one. So yeah, it'll be very fun to see how that goes. But let's just talk about the bottom four then. And I think this is set now. I think there's a chance that that the Roosters overtake the Eels, for example, if they can continue on their winning ways. I think they can overtake the Eels. Broncos, I'd say it's the 6, 7, and 8 is going to be pretty well set, with Roosters being the one that has the chance to sneak up into a 6 if they can win their last 3. They do have Tigers, which I think they can win, and then Storm and the South there. So a few tough ones for them. Eels got Dogs, Broncos, and Melbourne, and Broncos got Melbourne, Para, and St George. So all similar type of draws there. But I think this top 8 is set now. Raiders that last game 2 weeks ago where they happened to lose just really cost them. I think that they've been playing really well up until this point, but I don't think they're any better than the Broncos and Eels, who are way too far ahead of them. And I think the Roosters are on too much of a run. So I think the top 8's set. And out of this bottom 5, I really only think that the Bunnies have a chance of winning the title. Just my opinion, but they're the ones in the best form. I think Broncos might be a year early. They could be next year. That could be the same with the Cowboys. They might be a year early as well. But again, someone has to be up there. You look at the Bunnies right now and you say they're pretty similar of a team compared to last year. Obviously missing out on Reynolds, but the way they're gelling and the way they're playing at the moment, they're in a great, rich run of form and are playing very similarly in terms of ability-wise to what they were doing last year. Obviously doing it slightly different without Reynolds, but are in a great position to come out and score well. So I think they have a chance of getting through. Obviously, being in that bottom 4, guys, as you would know, you have to win every one of your games to win this comp. So it makes it a lot more difficult than getting that second crack. Obviously, playing one of the better teams first. But yeah, Bunnies, I think, are the biggest chance. You've obviously got some big game guys for the Roosters in Manu, Teddy, Kiri, these types of players who have been there, done that before, which is great. And then you've got some of the young talent, Walker, Swally, who are improving week in, week out. So they're going to be really important guys to get back. Taukeiaho, for example, potentially Lindsay Collins over the next few weeks. So if they can get that pack right and have no more injuries for the rest of the year, I think they have a bit of a chance. But they're probably going to come up against a Broncos or an Eels. I think they need that. If they happen to come up against Bunnies in week 1, could be very tough for them. If they can sneak 6th or 7th, they're probably a slight dark horse from that lower rank. I just don't feel like Broncos are there this year. And Eels, we know how they go. I don't think they can string 4 games together from the bottom 4. Let me know if you think that's fair. They can probably win, a big game or 2, but can they get all the way? I don't think so. So Bunnies and Roosters, my dark horse from back there. I think Bunnies have more of a chance than Storm do, to be honest with you, but Storm know how to do it. So yeah, very, very interesting. Let me know your general thoughts around the ladder and where you think it'll shake out. I still think the Panthers are clear favourites, and you can tell by the sports bet odds here. $2.10 to win the whole comp, and I do think they're pretty well a 50-50 chance to win this. If they can get everyone back, obviously if there's an injury to Cleary or something like that, then it could cause some issues. But in terms of title chances, pretty well exactly what I'm thinking there. I think the Roosters are the dark horse, and Broncos and Para almost not all out of the race, but 20 and $26 odds I think is pretty fair. Bunnies are 5th favourites. I'd almost have them ahead of Storm, but they do have to try and get into that 4. And if they get into that 4, I think there'll be a $6 or $7 chance. So that's that quick one, guys. A little bit of chat around the ladder. I think Panthers win the comp. Who do they play in the finals? That's a big question mark. I think there's a good chance that it's going to be Panthers v Sharks. I would hope that it would be the Cowboys, but I still think the Sharks probably slightly more ahead with guys like Finucane there. He has to be playing, not injured. And Nico Hines being he's played in some big games for sure. Can he do it on the biggest stage? We're unsure at the moment, right? He hasn't played Origin yet. They obviously lost, like he played in that semi last year. They lost, so interesting. Of recent time, he's been helping them win those close games, but I think it could be against the Sharks, and I see the Bunnies being a good show as well. And if not, then potentially the Cowboys, which I would love. But just my unbiased opinion, that was what I think at the moment. But that's the ladder, guys. Let me know your thoughts around that. What position would you have the top 4 in, and maybe that bottom 4 as well? And let's see how close we are. So I'll say it out loud. In ladder position, Panthers, Sharks, Cowboys, Storm, Bunnies, Roosters, Broncos, Eels. All the way through 1 to 8. Raiders miss out, and we go from there. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. Catch you in the next video.